Welcome to The Explainer. I'm so glad you're here today, because we're going to decode literally the most complex, high-performance operating system on the planet, your mind. If you're a high-achieving, highly analytical thinker, you've probably felt at times like you're speaking a completely different language than your colleagues. Well, today, I want you to step into this explainer as if it's a one-on-one career mentoring session between us. We're going to look really closely at the architecture of abstract thought, based on some absolutely fascinating psychological insights, and translate your perceived quirks into your ultimate professional advantage. So let's dive right in.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever find yourself pausing in a meeting, struggling to find the exact right word? And it's not because you don't know the answer. It's because your thought exists entirely as an image, or maybe a feeling, or this incredibly complex web in your head. You're seeing the hidden connections of a giant puzzle, while literally everyone else in the room is just staring at a flat, finished picture. Often, highly analytical employees like us are told, hey, you're overthinking. But here's the really fascinating reality. This isn't a flaw. No way. This is a massive leadership superpower. You aren't overthinking. You are actually running strategic simulations.
So, here's our mentorship roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start by unpacking the conceptual thinker's mindset, then move into systems thinking, internal simulations, metacognitive IQ, and finally, emotional intelligence in leadership. Basically, we're going to translate your complex mental layers into strategic alignment and accelerated professional growth.
All right, Section 1, the conceptual thinker's mindset, validating your abstract mind.
We really need to look at how your brain naturally maps the world in rich, complex layers, rather than straight, predictable lines. So the absolute crucial point here is understanding conceptual intelligence. Psychology shows us this isn't about rote memory, not at all. It's the ability to think in raw concepts and pick the absolute best mental framework to solve a specific problem. And this is combined with what we call spatial visual IQ, which is basically your brain's ability to mentally rotate abstract ideas, almost like a 3D model. Now, as a career coach, I see analytical professionals really struggle to translate this abstract mental imagery into clear professional communication. But the trick? It's realizing you are seeing a 3D object, but you only need to hand your team a 2D map. You don't have to explain every single dimension you see. You just need to extract the specific angle that helps your team take the very next step. Doing this, it sharply increases both your problem-solving speed and your creative output.
You see, there's a massive difference between traditional working styles and your approach. On one side, you've got people memorizing facts, kind of trapped in just one way of seeing a problem. But on your side, you've got concept-based thinking. You might jump from studying, say, ancient philosophy on a Tuesday to deep diving into coding on a Wednesday. And sure, others might see that as scattered, but it's actually your relentless curiosity acting as powerful cross-training for your brain. You aren't just reading to finish a book, you're literally absorbing entirely new operating systems for your mind to deploy later on at work.
Okay, let's move to Section 2, Systems Thinking and Pattern Hunting, Connecting the Dots.
This is exactly where we reframe your analytical nature. We're taking it from being just a quirk to a crucial, highly sought-after skill for workplace strategy. You, my friend, are a natural pattern hunter. You automatically connect dots that everyone else walks right past. Because your mind operates in interconnected systems rather than isolated events, you instantly notice things, like a subtle shift in a colleague's tone of voice, or maybe a tiny new metric in a work trend. You pick up on the invisible threads connecting the whole office ecosystem.
And this right here is causal reasoning in action. You naturally trace events back to their origins, analyze those underlying structures, and you're constantly asking yourself, how does this connect to everything else? This is what allows you to predict what actually comes next. In a leadership context, applying this causal reasoning helps you anticipate professional shifts long before your competitors or even your peers do. You aren't just reacting to problems, you're designing incredibly effective team strategies because, well, you've already seen exactly how the dominoes are going to fall.
Next up is Section 3, Internal Simulations and Predictive Processing, the power of the pause. We're going to explore the incredible power of the pause here. I want to walk through this process step by step because I really want to give you a specific exercise to help master mental editing. Step 1, you observe. Step 2, you pause. Step 3, you run a predictive processing model. And Step 4, you speak with impact. People might mistake your quiet moments in meetings for hesitation or maybe even shyness. It isn't. It's high-level mental editing. You're running 10 moves ahead to fix flaws before they even happen. So here's a coaching exercise for you. The next time you're in a high-stakes meeting, practice the 3-second simulation. When you're asked a complex question, visibly take 3 seconds. Let your brain run its predictive model, imagining the outcomes of your response, and deliberately edit out all the complex jargon before you speak. You're going to find that your words land with incredibly deep impact simply because you've already stress-tested them in your mind.
All right, on to Section 4, metacognitive IQ and intellectual humility. Thinking about thinking. This concept is literally about thinking about your own thinking, and it's honestly the rarest architectural design of your mind. Metacognitive IQ allows you to completely detach from your raw thoughts and observe your own biases and reactions as if they belong to a completely different person. Let me give you a quick case study of this in action. Imagine a project director. We'll call him David. His team misses a major deadline. A standard leader might react with immediate frustration, right? They might blame the team's work ethic. But David, he uses his metacognitive IQ. He mentally steps outside of his own frustration, observes his anger objectively, and realizes his bias is actually blinding him to a structural bottleneck in the software they're using. By detaching from his personal reaction, he spots the real issue, guides his team effectively, and builds immense trust. That is the true power of stepping outside your own mind.
And you know, that detachment builds something absolutely essential: intellectual humility. Consider this really powerful realization. The moment you think you have nothing left to learn, you stop being wise and just start being loud. The more you understand the layered complexity of the world, the more you see the gaps in your own knowledge. And as a mentor and a leader, embracing this intellectual humility, it's non-negotiable. It proves to your team that you are driven by finding the right answer, not just by being right.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 5, Emotional Intelligence in Leadership, Translation and Connection.
So how do we take all these abstract mental layers and translate them into clear, empathetic, professional connection? Many highly analytical thinkers feel like outsiders because they instinctively reject shallow workplace social rituals and surface-level networking. I mean, let's be real, it feels draining. But the goal here isn't to isolate yourself, it's to replace those shallow rituals with authentic connections forged through deep conceptual thinking. Instead of forcing small talk, use your natural curiosity to ask your colleagues about the systems they're working on. Translate your complex ideas into terms that align perfectly with their goals. This is exactly how you build genuine, unbreakable trust in the workplace, without ever faking a persona that just isn't you.
And this brings us to the ultimate leadership test for the architect of abstract thought. First, you must drop the "I already know" attitude. Second, you got to translate entire hidden realities for others who can't quite see the big picture yet. But most importantly, you must use your emotional intelligence to simplify complex layers. Truly intelligent leaders never ever use complexity to look superior or baffle their colleagues. They use their massive, layered minds to simplify reality so that their team feels smart, empowered, and totally capable of driving results. When you mentor others by breaking down the complex into the actionable, wow, you become a completely irreplaceable asset to any organization.
To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with the ultimate question every conceptual thinker is constantly asking themselves. What am I missing? Your mind is absolutely not a curse. It's a rare, highly layered gift. So, what niche topic has your incredibly layered mind been obsessed with lately? And more importantly, how can you use that conceptual cross-training to elevate your team tomorrow? Take these strategies, embrace your internal simulations, and step fully into your role as a true architect of thought. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hey, keep thinking in layers.